So the TBC Classic hype has hit me just like I'm sure it's hit the rest of you, and has resulted in me wanting to do my prep work on WoW Classic so that I am ready for TBC Classic's arrival. Now, the unfortunate thing is, I haven't logged on to WoW Classic in months, and I didn't remember whereabouts I stood in terms of my readiness to go into TBC. This resulted in me having a look at both what I wanted to play and getting it ready, and unfortunately at the time of recording I'm still undecided as to what I want to play in TBC, and if you are in the similar situation, I highly recommend making that decision before you go about any other prep work. But in my case, because I've ummed and ahed about it for so long and I'm probably going to end up leveling a many alts army at the moment TBC arrives, I just wanted to get my gold reserves high enough to be able, whatever character I picked, to be able to get it what it needed to be able to get both ready for TBC's arrival, as well as also the money in hand to be able to purchase both normal and epic flying the moment I get to level 70. Now, because I don't know which character I want to play, and therefore don't know whereabouts it is in terms of its training, its leveling, its gear requirements and so on, I came to the conclusion with some rough napkin maths that I was going to need about 7,000 gold by the time that TBC was arriving. Now, this is quite a large amount of money in Classic, and is also not a long way if current release dates are to be believed, with mid-May being the release of TBC. That gives me about 2 months to make that 7,000 gold. Now, this is certainly not insurmountable, but when you factor in the few restrictions I'm going to have for this challenge, it is going to make it quite a difficult one to achieve. First off, not so much a restriction of the challenge, but a restriction of the logistics of the real world. I am somebody who has real life commitments, and I'm not going to be able to play all of the time. I also have to make these YouTube videos for everybody, and I also have retail commitments in WoW with a team that regularly uses me for its content in progression there. And as a result, I'm not going to be able to spend all day, every day for 2 months just grinding gold on Classic. Now, the other restriction I'm putting in place, for a couple of reasons that I'll go on to explain, is that I will not be using a mage for making the gold that I am going to be making to hit this total before TBC. Now, I do have a mage that is level 58, and I could easily use that mage to make large amounts of gold very quickly. But there are two main reasons as to why I'm not going to be doing that. First of all is that I hate the mage, and the idea of playing a mage to make this gold is enough to make me not want to play the game full stop, and since this is going to be quite a challenge and require a lot of time playing the game, if I pick something that I'm not going to enjoy, I'm simply not going to stick to it and I'm just going to fail the challenge. Second of all is that even if I were to overcome that issue, I'm awful at playing the mage. For some reason, while I can master everything, I can't master jumping. And that is quite something that results in a laughable series of content in a lot of the videos I've made. No matter what technical capacity I have for mastering rotations and such, for some reason jumping is really difficult for me. So that results in an inability to do a lot of the mage farms efficiently, and is then going to make the efficiency of farming the gold on the mage considerably lower. What I am going to be doing, however, is attempting to make this gold through multiple different methods across multiple different characters, while also potentially leveling some characters while making the gold so that they are potentially ready if I want to play them in TBC. Now, with all that said, it leaves me in a position where I have to not use the best gold farming character, make 7,000 gold in 2 months without losing out on any other commitments I have in real life or in WoW. And I thought I would make this into a little mini-series to help motivate me, as well as potentially give you guys some ideas if you are in a similar position and want to play along. Now, first things first, whereabouts are we in terms of our starting point? Now, obviously, I'm not going to be starting a fresh account to do this on. I am going to be going with what I already have in terms of my characters, their gear, and also my base gold reserves that I have. So I thought I would be pretty upfront about all of that with you all before we begin. So I've popped up on the screen a list of the characters I have and their various levels. None of these are particularly well geared. By far my best geared character is my rogue, and even that is not in fantastic gear. It's in Dungeon Set 2 with pretty much just the best pre-raid gear before that. And that's about it, which is obviously going to limit the amount of options I have in terms of the abilities of ways I can make gold. With that being said, however, the gold itself is not starting from zero, so just to be clear, while I'm looking to make 7,000 gold, not inclusive of the gold I already have, I do have about 600 gold at the start of this, which I will be using in terms of purchasing materials to craft to sell things on the auction house. So while that gold isn't included in the target I'm aiming for, it is gold I have that I'm going to be using to begin with to be able to make more gold. Now, the ultimate aim of this challenge, like we've established, is to make 7,000 gold. What is maybe not as clear is the end date for this is going to be the release of TBC, not the pre-patch, just simply TBC. And we don't have a date for that yet, so this could be made considerably more difficult if that date is moved up. Currently, I believe that the leak was that it's going to be May 18th, is what's currently being data mined, but obviously data mined information is definitely subject to change, and as a result this could be made much easier or more difficult as a challenge, but the ultimate date for the completion of the challenge is going to be the day that TBC releases. Now, all that's left for this first episode of this series is going to be showing you where I began. I started off by looking at what I had on my bank toon in terms of both gold and things to sell, and simply reposting things on the auction house, but in truth, I had very little. Outside of the 600-ish raw gold that I had, I simply didn't have anything left to sell apart from a couple of crafted pieces from tailoring that I apparently had in my bag to begin with. So I logged on my rogue, because I figured that was going to be the easiest character to begin this on with its gear, and I moved over to Tyr's Hand to start farming in the hopes of getting some big ticket items to get on the auction house, so they could have longer to sell while this challenge was ongoing. This didn't prove to be particularly successful, and this time around I pretty much just got one recipe for Elixir of Sages, which while it has a decent market value, definitely doesn't sell particularly well, and then some raw gold and some greens that I was able to disenchant in order to get some materials that will hopefully sell a little bit better. But all in all, I was pretty unsuccessful on this first run, but it was nice just to get back into the swing of things and actually just learn how to replay the characters I have, because it has been long enough that logging back into Classic WoW honestly felt like a game that I had never played before. Now, after I had got more into the swing of things, I decided to move my rogue back into Razorfang Crawl, which I have noted in my top 5 rogue solo gold making ideas video as being one of the better options for rogues to make golds independently. Now, I did have considerably more success in here than I had done in Tyr's Hand, but that's because this is a potentially lower gold return farm, but much more consistent. I was able to kill on average 4 bosses per run, getting a blue item from each, and then also disenchanting that blue item so that I would get roughly 20 gold per run with my service prices in the small radiant shards that drop from the bosses in this dungeon. Sometimes I would be unlucky and one of the bosses would drop a green instead of a blue, but this balanced out with the last boss having the potential to drop 2 blues and proved to be very consistent. I was able to do these runs in roughly 15 to 16 minutes, meaning I was able to make a reasonably consistent 80 gold an hour doing this, and it got me off to a pretty nice start for this little process. As a result, at the end of day 1, I've made about 100 gold, which is not going to be sufficient at the current expected release date for TBC. At that rate, it would take me approximately 70 days, and I believe I have about 60. So while it's a good start, I am going to need to up it if I'm going to hit my 7,000 gold target by TBC release. Now that's going to about wrap it up for episode 1. We're just establishing the rules of the challenge today, as well as showing you how I got off to my start. If there is anything that you're unsure about the rules of the challenge, or if you're just interested to get involved, or if you have any ideas of gold farms that I can do during this challenge, then let me know in the comments down below and I'll see if I can incorporate them into what I am doing in an attempt to make this more relatable. Similarly, If you are looking forward to the next episode in this series, then please do consider liking the video so I know that it is being well received, as well as consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out when the episode comes out. But for now guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and thanks for watching. See you later.